it was so clear to me that my guru was Brahmananda Sarasvati with Maharshi, and Muktananda was, something nice that had happened to me in my life. And then there was a video of Maharishi on the wall, and then boom, Baba Muktananda was sitting on his chair at the back, and I thought, why am I here? What is this guy doing here? And then Baba kind of leaned forward and he grabbed my hand. But in the dream, I didn't want to have anything to do with him. So I started walking backwards, but he wouldn't let go of my hand, and my arm kept getting longer and longer. And I was thinking, oh my God, now he's going to break my arm because he wouldn't let go of me. And all of a sudden, he became this huge ball of golden light. And then that ball of light just came into my heart and exploded here. And I woke up feeling, filled with light, but at the same time, so much confusion because, like, why is this guy chasing me?
Welcome to the Endless Possibilities Podcast, where the journey of spiritual awakening and energy healing unfolds.
Hello and welcome to the Endless Possibilities Podcast. My name is Gareth and I'm back today with my latest guest, Alex Arrese. Let me just give a little introduction into Alex. Myself and Alex met last September on a Shakti Pad intensive in Portugal. I had the pleasure of becoming friends with Alex and sitting and having some amazing conversations where I learned a lot about Alex's spiritual journey and his past with some great gurus and saints like Swami Muktananda, Amma. So yeah, today, Alex is going to come on. We're going to talk a little bit about his story and some of the saints and gurus he's been around. Alex, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yes, yeah. So Alex, would you like to start by telling us a little bit about your journey? What got you into spirituality?
Well, actually, what got me, well, I guess it must have been my inner self guiding me, but at the time I wasn't aware. I was a young teenager. I was 17, and of course I was a Beatles fan. I knew all the Beatles songs by heart, and then all of a sudden I read that the Beatles traveled to India and they were there with this great Indian sage. And then the next thing I know, a classmate of mine told me that he had started doing TM, Transcendental Meditation. And I said, oh, I want to try that. So I was only 17 at the time. I'd had before, not that I had any spiritual experiences or anything like that before, but there was for many years already, I'd been both very interested. I'd been very, very interested in both psychoanalysis and death. Like what happens? I mean, is death the end of it all? And there was something that I needed to find out. So so yeah, I was 17 years old, and on December 2nd, 1972, I remember I went to the TM Meditation Center. I got initiated, as that was the terms that they used. And I liked it a lot. I mean, it was nothing flashy or anything. I remember, you have to remember that back in those years, early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, it was, the flower power times, and everybody was, doing acid like crazy and smoking pot and stuff. And I never did anything like that. I was very, very scared of drugs, but somehow there was some kind of inner search. And so, yeah, I started meditating, and I was, very, very regular. I took it very, very seriously. And basically, I just felt peace. And I like the atmosphere a lot. I met very nice people. And as time went by, I started realizing that I really liked it, that there was something there that really appealed to me. And I remember this one day, about a year later, I was already 18, so I had come of age, and I didn't depend on my parents anymore. So, and I remember I was in the middle of the street here in Barcelona, and then I just felt this call. It was this vocation, this call, this something in my heart was so strong, was strongly telling me, you have to become a TM teacher, you have to work with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and you have to go there and become a teacher of transcendental meditation. And so it took me another year to get a little bit of money, and then for me to be accepted, because you had to apply for that. They took me on their work credit program, so I worked on campus. And with that, I was also paying for my stay there and my studies there. So eventually, I took the whole teacher training course, and Maharishi was not living at exactly the same place. He was living across the lake, but we would see him every so often. But the moment that you became an initiator, that was actually with him personally. So that was my first time with him alone. And so, the whole procedure was very, like in India, everything was in silence and secret. And I was told how to teach people. And then with Maharishi, there were different levels or different techniques, you would call them. So I had the first technique, which is it was with Maharishi, was always mantra repetition. It was based on mantras, yeah. So from him, I was initiated into the second technique, which was a different mantra. And then I remember and then he told me, okay, close your eyes, listen. And so he told me, he whispered the mantra in my ear, and I remember repeating it mentally, just repeating the mantra. And then he said, okay, open your eyes. And the moment I opened my eyes, I had my very first experience of bliss. It was never, ever, never, ever had I seen, had I gotten, and had I felt so much. Love is such a small word to describe what I felt coming from those eyes and from that person. It was just totally amazing. He had this big beaming smile on his face, and it was just total love, absolutely total love. And then he said, "Very good," with his Indian accent. So I stood up, I went out, and I was just crying and crying and crying in ecstasy. It was absolutely beautiful. So, and at the time, also there was at the end of our TTC teachers training course. And now I realize that by the end of that teachers training course, it was, now that I think of it, I realized that it was like my first awakening. When it happened, I remember thinking, oh, I'm just feeling special. This is feeling special. This is nice. Meditations became very easy all of a sudden. Everything was nice, and there was just this sense of like flowing. But then, now I realize that well, in Maharshi's terms, it was what he would call the witness consciousness. Like you would perform, you would act normally, but there was this awareness of being, of being, just being inside and then acting in the world, right? So that was in 76. And then in 76, then I was traveling for a few months. I would come to Barcelona, work as a TM teacher for a while, then also in Madrid. Then I also went back to France in the Alps, because what Maharishi would do, since he didn't have a huge campus back then in Europe, like he did in Fairfield, Iowa, he would rent these huge hotels in low season, and that's where he would hold teacher training courses. So in 76, I was there working as the translator for a group of Spanish TM practitioners who were doing the TTC. But of course, it was all in English, and they didn't speak in English. So I was working there as a translator. And then at that time, Maharishi, who was in Switzerland, invited Muktananda, Swami Muktananda, to come over and visit. I'd never heard of Muktananda, and actually didn't know that Muktananda went to visit him. But all of a sudden, I get this call from a friend of mine in Barcelona. She had just been there in Selisberg in Switzerland when Muktananda went to visit Maharshi, and she was there as they met. And then she met Muktananda personally, and she had this incredible experience of Kundalini awakening, We were like an hour and a half on the phone. It was a long distance call. Her father was paying for it. He must have paid a fortune. And it was like, gosh, I gotta meet this guy. This is incredible. This sounds big. This sounds really incredible because, with the one thing with TM is that everything was Marshy's focus was to keep everything very scientific, very quiet, very Western, like, appropriate for a Western mind. So there was no no devotion, no chanting, and nothing that could
No
remotely,
transmissions.
no transmissions, nothing. No, it was your own job just to meditate regularly and repeat your mantra regularly, and then a meditations kept getting deeper and deeper. And of course he hardly ever spoke about Kundalini, never about Shaktipat or anything like that. And in terms of devotion, and I have to mention this here because it's like the thread that unites my it's the thread of my life, the concept of the guru. Maharishi never spoke of himself as a guru. He always spoke about his own guru, who had been the Shankaracharya of the north in northern India in Jyotirmat, and his name was Swami Ramananda Saraswati. And so for all of us TM teachers, our guru was Brahmananda Saraswati. On the ceremony, the little puja that we did to initiate a person, it was done to Brahmananda Saraswati. And I personally considered Brahmananda Saraswati my guru. And I had incredible devotion to him for him, although I'd never met him physically because he left his body, I think, in the 40s or 1950s or something. So so anyhow, so this friend of mine calls me up and tells me about this incredible Swami. So I took a weekend off from this course that I was translating for, and I took a train from the Alps and I traveled to Paris, and I took this in a weekend intensive, Shaktipat intensive with Muktananda. First, we had a bunch of, I don't know, 6 or 10 people. We had a private darshan with him, and I thought, what a weird looking guy. He was all colors. He was wearing a red woolen hat, and then he just looked totally the opposite of Maharishi. Maharishi was like just perfect, like a Japanese master. He would every movement was like millimetrically thought about and considered, and everything was so smooth. And Muktananda, he would just scratch his head or laugh out loud and make jokes, eat sometimes something if he felt like it. I thought, what a weird guy. So anyway, I thought, okay, fine. So I took the intensive, and man, that intensive, I was scared shitless, honestly. I mean, because it consisted of 4 sessions. So there were talks talking about what the Kundalini was and what the Guru was and the awakening of the Kundalini. And then at one point, I remember this place in Paris, there must have been, I don't know, maybe 100 of us or something, which for me, for us back in the 70s, that was a huge crowd. And so imagine this place, total darkness, just with a few candle lights. And then the musicians that were traveling with Muktananda, with Baba, we used to call him, and everybody sitting there. We were chanting Om Namah Shivaya, the mantra, and they told us, to chant it, the slow version of it, but to chant it with all our hearts, and so that it would open up our hearts for us to receive the Shakti and all that. So wow, the energy I felt there was incredible. But then the next thing I know is like my this girlfriend of mine who had called me from Barcelona, she was like 5 meters away from me, and she was having all these incredible weird movements and yelling and what then I realized that were called kriyas. Her spine was stretching all the way back. She was having spontaneous bhastika pranayama, all these incredible things. People were yelling, some other people were howling, people sounding like lions, other people crying, laughing. And I thought, this is a madhouse. This is not meditation. I'm out of here.
It
I
really
was,
is.
oh gosh.
It's. I mean, I just from doing Shakti Pad intensives myself, right? It is like a madhouse when it kicks off. You go in, and especially it must have been some contrast from going from doing TM to Shakti Pat with Muktananda.
You can't begin to imagine what a contrast that was. You can't even begin to imagine. I mean, it was like I said, with Maharishi, everything was pure silent. There was no chanting. It was like, okay, now let's meditate. Boom. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. It's amazing. And all of a sudden, I'm in this place, and then not only were all these people, everybody was chanting this incredible, super powerful energy, and people having kriyas, but then you would hear, because the way Baba used to give Shaktipat was we would be sitting in rows like this, and then he would go from person to person, and he would always have a wand of peacock feathers. So he would hit you with the peacock feathers on the head or the back or your chest or something. And then at the same time, he would touch you here on the head or here with his thumb on the forehead, or maybe pinch you here on the third eye. Sometimes to some people, because we were all sitting on the ground, he would place his foot at the base of the spine of some person to transmit Shaktipat through his foot. Sometimes he would even blow his own prana into a person's nose to transmit Shaktipat. So, like I said, I was in the middle of this chaos of noises and energy, and my heart was going 260 beats per minute, and I kept hearing the peacock feathers coming closer and closer and closer, and I thought, oh my God, please, okay, just do it as quickly as you can. So finally, I remember I said bang, bang, bang. I got the peacock feathers on my head. Oh. And I think he just pressed his thumb here, or maybe he pinched my third eye here. I don't remember really. I was just thinking, please, let's get it over with. Okay, go to
Alex,
the next person. Yes.
Alex, can I just ask quickly, just the significance of the peacock feathers?
I'm not so sure about it. I know that on the one hand, the peacock is a sacred animal in India. The peacock is the vehicle to, if I'm not wrong, to Mother Saraswati. And
Okay.
then in all the when I see images of, I think it's Mother
Yeah.
Saraswati who has the peacock next to her. And what I was also told is that apparently they're made of somehow, they're made of some substance that very easily transmits the Shakti, the
Okay.
energy.
Okay.
So some kind of great energy transmitter or something.
Okay.
And actually, one beautiful thing was that he would rub a lot of Indian perfume on these peacock feathers, so they smelled really good. That's one of the things that really stuck to me at the beginning. So, you would hear that. And so that happened 4 times during the weekend. Okay. Honestly, during the 4 meditations, those 4 meditations for me were terrible because my knees were hurting. I was not used to meditating, in such a noisy place. But what really, really caught my whole attention and my heart was all the chanting that we were doing in between, because with Muktananda, there was a lot of chanting. So, before the program, during the programs, after the programs, there were a lot of Indian chants. And wow, I felt totally ecstatic. And at one point, there was my first interaction with him personally is that you could actually go up for darshan to him if you wanted to. And then I remember at the time, I was wearing a mala of coral beads because that's something that Maharishi always wore. And, red coral is supposed to expand your heart, and it helps you work on your anger and stuff like that. So, so I had this coral mala that a friend of mine had given me a while ago. And but before going to Paris, I took it to a jeweler shop here in Barcelona to have it. It was instead of a thread, I wanted it, like in India, they use like little pieces of gold to
Yeah.
hold the
Interesting. Yeah.
beads together. So, and then the jeweler said, "Oh no, this is a very bad quality coral." And I thought, this guy knows nothing, he knows shit about coral. This is a totally beautiful coral that my friend has given me. So, okay, so then I'm in Paris. I go up for darshan, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a coral mala to Baba for him to bless it and to charge it with energy. So he held it, he looked at it, and he put it back in my hand, and he said, "It's very good quality." So I
Oh
thought,
wow.
oh,
Okay. So he knew. He
he
knew. Yeah,
knew.
the connection. Yeah.
He knew
Yeah.
the connection. He knew the connection. Totally. And then he had a big smile. And then I thought, that's when I started liking the guy. And so I asked for a mantra, although I was a TM teacher. I thought, okay, anyway, I'm here, so maybe I'm not supposed to do this. But I asked for a mantra. He would give the mantra Om Namah Shivaya on a card, but he would say that this mantra, although it's a very popular mantra in India, everybody knows about it. You can see it on taxi cabs and anywhere. But when he would give it to you, it was charged with a Shakti. And so he gave it to me, and I said, okay, fine, fine. So that's it. I went back to after the weekend. I went back to the teachers training course. I finished that course, and I just totally forgot about Muktananda. I was super happy with Maharishi. Maharishi, came personally to the closure of
Alex,
that course.
just
Yes,
really, really quickly, what was your experience meditating with Muktananda? Was there, like, what did you feel? What did you perceive in his presence?
Like I said, there in Paris, those first four sessions, nothing. It was
Not a big profound experience. Okay.
nothing, nothing.
Okay.
It was physically very uncomfortable. I was used to I was used to meditating cross-legged, but not without a backrest or anything. And with Maharishi, you would meditate maybe 20, 25 minutes. With Muktananda, it was about an hour. And then again, with all those noises and everything, I didn't feel anything. What I did feel was this very strong emotional connection with the chanting and all that.
Okay.
That
Okay.
really hit home. So I came back to Barcelona and didn't want to know anything about Muktananda anymore. And so I kept doing my meditations. And all of a sudden, one night I was sharing an apartment here in Barcelona. So I go to bed. My roommate goes to his room, and I lie in bed. And the next thing I know, I start disappearing and disappearing. And there's just, I start feeling that I was being flooded by, for me, it was the Divine Mother. It was just totally formless, incredible, powerful, cosmic light and energy, like the embodiment of ecstasy. And then this Alex just totally disappeared. I don't remember anything. I mean, I remember that long lasting bliss that it's like bliss feeling itself. It was not me anymore. I don't know if it lasted for 1 minute or 1 hour. I have no idea. I know that after a while, I don't know if it was 1 minute or 10 minutes or 1 hour, I kind of slowly, came back to my body. And then I opened my eyes and I turned my head, and I saw that my roommate was sitting on a chair next to me, and he was like this. And he was looking so worried. And I asked him, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Oh my God, you're back. You're back. Thank goodness. I was so worried about you and about the neighbors because you were so noisy. You were screaming and you were making all these noises. And so apparently I must have been having incredible kriyas that I remember nothing of, absolutely nothing. But apparently, I don't know, I was having pranayamas and I was, roaring like a lion or whatever. I have no, I laughing, crying, God knows what. And wow, that state lasted a long, long time. And that was actually my first experience with Kundalini awakening. So then mentally, it was so clear to me that my guru was Brahmananda Sarasvati with Maharishi, and Muktananda was, something nice that had happened to me in my life. So I didn't want to have anything to do with him. And then
Did you make
Muktananda,
a connection though with what happened, Alex? Did
not
you
yet,
know that?
not
No,
yet,
okay, okay,
not
okay,
yet. Or maybe I did, but I didn't want to acknowledge it
okay.
because what happened is that after that moment, every so often, Muktananda would come into my dreams and give me Shaktipat. And I remember this one time, this one dream I had. All of a sudden, I entered some kind of hall, and there were lots of Brahmins sitting, against the wall, and there was a video of Maharishi, a video of Maharishi on the wall, and then boom, Baba Muktananda was sitting on his chair at the back, and I thought, why am I here? What is this guy doing here? And then so Baba kind of leaned forward and he grabbed my hand. But in the dream, I didn't want to have anything to do with him. So I started walking backwards, okay? But he wouldn't let go of my hand. And my arm kept getting longer and longer and longer and longer. And I was thinking, oh my God, now he's going to break my arm because he wouldn't let go of me. And all of a sudden, he became this huge ball of light, of golden light. And then that ball of light just, just came into my heart and exploded here. And I woke up feeling, just filled with light, but at the same time, so much confusion because, like, why is this guy chasing me? So mentally I kept thinking, no, no, I don't want to have anything with him, to do anything with him. Then in 1977 was a crucial year in my life because three incredible things happened. Um, One thing, and this is for me, this is like the most important message in my whole life. When we speak of guru here, usually mostly in the West, but also in India, when we think of a guru, we think of a person, right? Now, guru is a Sanskrit word that is made up of two syllables. Gu stands for darkness, and Ru stands for light. So it's the light that dispels the darkness of ignorance of who you really are. So of the in the Shaivat scriptures, they say that Shiva, as not as a deity, but as the like Brahman, right? He performs five actions: creation, maintenance, destruction, concealment, like Maya, like the divinity hides itself, conceals
Mhm.
itself, and then all of a sudden it reveals itself, and that's called anugraha. And so it reveals itself through this process of guru. Now, this process can manifest itself in in any way, under any form. It doesn't really matter what form it is, as long as it is useful for the person's mind. Okay?
So it could be a dream, right? It could happen in a dream. The guru could come in a dream. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And actually, that's one of the things that happened to me in 1977. In 77, I had to come back to Spain because there was a compulsory military service. There was a draft, and I had to serve here for a year and a half. So imagine I'm dreaming in the in the barracks, okay, the most spiritual place you can ever think of.
Yeah.
And then so it was this experience which I dare not call a dream because it was so real, so vivid that it's not really a dream. It's totally real. So there was Brahmananda Sarasvati, Maharshi's guru, and me. No walls, no floor, nothing. It was like we were sitting somewhere, but it was an empty space. And he was giving me instruction. He was giving me knowledge. I don't remember what, but I remember very, very clearly his last sentence. And I was sitting at he was sitting cross-legged, and I was also sitting cross-legged at his feet, and we were like a couple inches, away. And I remember his last sentence, and he said, "When you finish your military service, you will see me every day." And at that moment, my heart chakra exploded. I was so full of bliss. I fell onto his feet, and he started stroking my back, and I was just crying and crying, crying. All of a sudden, I wake up, just pure bliss, and I'm in the middle of the barracks there, surrounded in this stinking place. But everything was heavenly. But then that got me thinking for months and months, because they tell you that whatever the Buddha tells you, whether physically or in a dream, anytime, it comes true. It's a mantra. It's true. So it's like, what did he mean that I'm going to see him every day when I finish my military service? He left his body, I don't know,
Yeah.
but 60 years ago or something. Will I have his vision every day in meditation? Well, what is that? So, I kept thinking about that. And so then 1970 kept passing by. And then in August 77, that was like the climax almost of my spiritual life. Well, first of all, since you speak so much about out of body experience, that's when I had my first, and as far as I know, my only out of body experience. I was having a nap, and all of a sudden I saw my body sleeping there, and I was floating close to the roof, and then I went through a roof. It was beautiful. But then, but then I remember that day, that was August 77, and I was feeling sad because I was doing the military service. I couldn't get out of Spain and travel to Switzerland to take a special course that Maharishi was giving. So I just, sat for meditation, and I was doing nothing special, just repeating my mantra. And then all of a sudden, there was nothing, there was no thoughts, nothing, and everything was black. And then all of a sudden, I see in front of me this huge, huge, or maybe not huge, I don't know, triangle of cyan blue light with a ball or a sphere, cyan blue sphere of light. And it was like, I was staring at it, and then all of a sudden, this light spoke to me. I could hear the words, but there were no lips or anything. But the
Mm.
message was, "Why are you sad? You know that I've always been you, and you have always been me." And that was, and with those words, there was this feeling of the universal mother. It was a divine mother speaking to me. And then as she said that ball exploded. And then there was this huge, like a huge shower of shimmering cyan blue light, like zillions and zillions of sparks of that blue light that entered from the top of my head all the way down. And I was just filled with this incredible bliss that I thought, okay, please kill me right now, because I can't handle this, and this is too much. And you know what took me out of that? Just the moment I thought, kill me, I was afraid of death. And it took, and then boom, it took me out of that experience. But although, okay, then I realized that I had, my ego was afraid, but then I also realized what my real nature was. And so that was so these three things happened in 77, right? Okay. Then October, I still didn't want to have anything to do with Muktananda mentally. And every day, my meditations were deeper and deeper. I was having incredible kriyas. All my TM friends that were thinking, what is wrong with this guy that didn't want to meditate with me anymore? Because I would have pranayamas, I would make noises. It was impossible to meditate with me. Go meditate somewhere else, leave us alone.
Yeah.
And I was having a blast. It was like I couldn't wait for 7 o'clock p.m. to sit down for meditation. And all of a sudden, I don't. It was just like this incredible amount of things happening inside I had no idea of. Really, like symbols and lights and shapes and forms and feelings, and I'd never eh, something that was never mentioned in TM. I had no idea about it. So all of that led to a great personal crisis in me, because I reached a point in October 77 when I thought, okay, Brahmananda Saraswati, please, you're my guru, but I know that all of these things all of these experiences have been happening since I met this Muktananda guy. So please, who is my guru? Please, who is my guru? I'm so confused. So I remember one day I got back home, I sat for meditation, and I couldn't just say that anymore. I started crying and crying, and like my heart was breaking. It was like, because for me it was the end of my life. I had dedicated my life totally to Maharishi and to transcendental meditation, and I loved it. And I loved Brahmananda Sarasvati, and I was so confused because somehow I was like not only being unfaithful, but also, like, what am I going to do? If I leave the TM movement and stuff. So I just cried and cried and cried and cried, total desperation. And after crying for hours, I just fell asleep out of exhaustion. And after some hours, I woke up the next morning, and my first thought was, where is that confusion? What's the problem? What's the big deal? What's the big deal? It's Muktananda. Muktananda is my guru. That's it, period. You know, no problem. So, I went to the TM center. I said that I was quitting TM. There were some little problems, but anyhow. So then I was super happy. And then the remaining 4 or 5 months of military service, I would go to the Siddha Yoga Meditation Center in Madrid to chant and stuff like that. I kept having incredible meditations. And I finished my military service on April 20th, 1978. On April 24th, 1978, I was in Ganeshpuri with Muktananda, living with him. And what happened? I saw him every day. What does that mean? What was the teaching that Brahmananda was giving me, that, the guru has no form. The guru is a principle. So Brahmananda already told me, you'll see me every day, because, this form of Muktananda, this form of Brahmananda, whatever form that the guru takes is the same thing. And you will see me every day. And boy, was that true. I mean, then, and then I lived with Muktananda for about 8 months or so. And am I speaking too much, or is that okay?
No, 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 no. I listen.
No.
You keep going, Alex. This is great. This is I.
Okay.
Usually I get involved, but I'm just enjoying the conversation. I'm just listening. This is beautiful. So go ahead.
Because well, okay, as you can imagine, during those 8 months in Ganeshpuri, many things happened to me, most of them extremely beautiful. But there was this one thing, because in the same way that, today you had this beautiful interview with Swami Brahmananda from Muktananda's lineage. And so he was in the inner circle. He had this very intimate personal relationship with Baba. I didn't. I was part of you know, the working people. I was, and
The riffraff.
yeah, I was exactly some of the workers. But one of the teachings, one of the things that Baba really insisted on constantly was the importance of the inner guru. And he kept saying, the inner guru is the real guru. This, if you see me, this body will disappear at some point. But you really have to realize that the guru lives within you as you. That was Baba's motto, love and respect yourself, because God lives within you as you. And it took me quite a while to understand that sentence. So, and he kept mentioning the total oneness of the outer guru and the inner guru. And, although I tried somehow, like everybody else, to have some kind of, interaction or relationship with a physical guru, he wouldn't really pay much attention to me. I was just, one of so many. But then there was one in August, we were celebrating I don't know how many, the anniversary of his guru's Mahasamadhi, right? Bhagavan Nityananda's Mahasamadhi. So the celebration for that was a sapta. A sapta means 7 days. So 7 days of chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Nityanandaya nonstop, 24 hours, day and night. And that was my thing. I was just, I would do my seva, and the rest of the day I was just there chanting like crazy. And then the very last night, there were very few, like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. There were very few people. So I said, okay, I'm not sleeping tonight. I'm staying here close to the musicians because I know that early in the morning, Baba's going to come here personally for the finale, right? And it's going to be great. And that actually happened. So, I was just totally full of Om Namo Bhagavate Nityanandaya for so many days and hours. So eventually Baba comes in, he sits on his chair. Then, the hall gets flooded with people, all the Swamis trying to sit on top of each other. And I was trying to keep my place there. And I was relatively close to Baba, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 meters away from his chair. And so then we started chanting all together. And I remember that as we all together with Baba started chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Nityanandaya, I couldn't actually finish pronouncing the mantra. Just my whole being exploded in this most incredible love, absolute love for him, for Baba. And I remember that because one thing that Baba used to say is that when we're chanting, you should not meditate, you should chant, because chanting is the practice. So you have to make sure that you chant with the rest. But I was totally unable. I just couldn't. I was crying. I was just crying. And then I thought, and I was thinking, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Baba. I can't chant. And it was like I was totally overwhelmed by this feeling of love for him. And then the only thing that came, I was just, in tears. It was like tears pouring down my face. And then I only thought, mentally, I thought, Baba, Baba, Baba. That's all I said mentally. And then at that moment, he looked at me straight in the eyes for I don't know how long. He stopped playing his instrument and just stared at me. He was wearing his sunshade, so I couldn't quite see his eyes, but he was staring at me. And I thought, this is it. I'm melting. I'm dissolving. This was, I didn't dissolve. The chanting went on. He kept on chanting. And then, so at the end, when it was all finished, we all went for breakfast and stuff. And then a friend of mine came up to me and said, "What happened to you? Why was Baba looking at you so intensely during the chant?" And I said, I don't know, but I was just melting. And she said, "Yeah, I mean, because I saw that Baba was looking really intensely at someone, and then I realized it was you." And I was thinking, "Oh my God, Alex he's going to melt. He's not going to survive this." So okay, so then the day went by. I go to bed that night, finally, totally exhausted after a whole week. And then that night, I dream that I walk into the courtyard of the ashram, where Baba used to sit every day. And then I go up to him for darshan. And so you would usually just bow down to him, and he would maybe acknowledge you, or maybe just keep talking to other people, not even acknowledging you, apparently. So before I could actually bow down, he grabbed my head just this close, and with a big smile on his face, he said, Baba, 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 which was exactly, the thought, the only thought that I had had when I was, just fusing with him in that incredible love that I felt for him. So for me, that experience was this incredible teaching that the outer, the physical guru was totally one with it. He knew, the inner guru knew totally what was happening within me, and he proved it to me during that dream, saying exactly with the same intonation and the same expression, and saying like, God, you were so cute when you were saying Baba, Baba, Baba. So that was what, for me, that was one of the most incredible experiences with Muktananda. I could tell many others, but that was incredible. And then I met three people from Barcelona, and the four of us decided to come because Baba was going on this third world tour, and he was going to be away for a couple of years. Actually, my idea when I went to India was to become a Swami, just to stay there for the rest of my life and become a Swami and dedicate myself to sadhana and to him. But then these friends of mine really took me into coming to Barcelona and opening up a Siddha Yoga center or ashram. So I was not sure about it, and so I went to ask Baba what I should do. He said, "Yes, yes, yes. Go to Barcelona. Go to Barcelona. Yeah, Barcelona is close to Arizona," because he would always mistake Barcelona and Arizona. I said, "No, Baba, Barcelona is in Spain." Ah, yes, Spain, Spain. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, go to Barcelona. So that's why I came back to Barcelona. And then, we opened up that center. And then I went to see him in South Salzburg. And then in 1980, I felt that, my life has been usually most people, when they're teenagers, they go crazy and then they try all sorts of things and they party and they take drugs. And I hadn't done that. So I did that afterwards. So in the early 80s and mid 80s, I got myself an apartment and a different job. And so I experienced life, as a human being. But I remember, and for me, that was very beautiful more than once. I mean, like right now, I remember three cases, but that Shakti that you get from a guru never goes to waste. He would always say that. And I remember at one point, this must have been 1982 or something. I had a boyfriend, and we had met just a few days before. And so one day I was hugging him, and all of a sudden I got this very strong thought of memory of Baba. So I felt, this incredible Shakti. The guy, he had to lie down in bed, and he was there for, I don't know, for I mean, till next morning. I finally, I went to sleep and all that. And the next morning, he said, "How could you fall asleep? I couldn't fall asleep all night. This was what did you do to me? This was the most incredible thing that has ever happened to me." And I said, "I did nothing. This was all Baba's Shakti. Because, he used to say that you actually just become a channel also of the Shakti, and other people can get it through you without you doing anything about it. And then, well, then, many things happened and the years went by. And then, to cut a long story short, 2 years ago, I was living in Madrid, and then I also went to the States, different places. Okay. And then all of a sudden, 2 years ago, I come back to Barcelona, and this last February, I thought, because I'm old school and I'm not really used to looking up things on YouTube and the internet and stuff. And I thought, oh, I've never looked up Shaktipat on the internet. So I typed Shaktipat, and I saw a video of you, an interview of you in a bar in Dublin. And I thought, this guy sounds, like, he, like the real thing. I like what this guy's saying. So I checked out your website, and I realized that you were giving a Shaktipat intensive in Lisbon, but it was already booked up. So I thought, well, okay, then it's not, it's not for me to go. And so maybe then I go to bed or something. And the next morning at about 7 or 8 in the morning, just before I wake up, I had a dream in which Baba came to visit, came to see me in Barcelona. Well, not necessarily Barcelona. It was where I was. He just came to see me. And he was, wearing his orange robes, but he was not acting or looking like the guru, like, because in India it's all very hierarchical, and you have to just distance yourself a little bit from the guru, blah blah. He was friends with me. I mean, we were friends. We were actually just very, very close friends. He was super friendly. He was smiling, and we were talking. And the only thing is that there was some problem with finding a room, a bedroom for him to stay. And then I woke up. I thought, oh, how beautiful! Because I hadn't seen Baba in dreams for a long time. So I was having breakfast, and I thought, I'm going to check this guy's website again. So I realized your website, and then I realized that there was a link to your Telegram group. So I clicked on it, and the last message you'd written was, "Hey, there's been a cancellation for Portugal. Anybody interested? Please text me." Boom, 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 boom. I texted you right away, and then we exchanged emails for a few minutes, and then you told me that actually the moment I was having that dream of Baba, you were at home getting ready to fly to Portugal, and you were picking up this book, Baba's autobiography, from your bookshelf, which had been, the book had been sitting for 5 years on that bookshelf. And you thought, oh, I'll take this book to read it, to read the chapter about the blue pearl on the flight. So then, I was, and then I said, okay, hi, Gareth, my name is Alex from Barcelona. I just realized that there's been a cancellation. I'm interested. And then you said, how do you know about my work and stuff? So I told you about Muktananda and all that. And then you sent me a photograph of the book, which you had in your hand. And then you said, is this crazy or what? I said, yeah, this is absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So I'll just jump in really quick, Alex. So yeah, there was it was, I think, the day before the retreat was about to start, and somebody had cancelled. Literally, they had paid for it, and so I posted up that there was one space free. Three people contacted me. Two girls contacted me before you, and I actually agreed to let the two girls come. Just one of them applied first, and I was like, yeah. Then the second one applied, and the person had already paid, right? So it was basically all you had to pay for was your accommodation and your food, right? The retreat was paid for.
right.
So then all of a sudden, the second girl, she was like, "Oh, I really want to come. I'm gonna get flights," and I couldn't say no to her. So I was like, "Okay, you can come as well." And then I got an email or something else. How I realized that there was a couple staying, and the couple were staying in the same room, so it actually freed up another bed. So then all of a sudden, I got your email right that morning, and I was like, "Oh, I have two people. Who's this guy?" I didn't, the other two I had seen them in my meditation groups, and I was just like, don't know who this person is. So I was a little bit. I was like, okay, I have people. And then the email came through, and then you started talking about Muktananda. And I'm looking down because I have my bag packed, and I have the book with Muktananda sitting on top of my bag. As I'm reading your email, you're talking about Muktananda in the dream, and Muktananda's face is looking at me. And I'm like, this guy is coming. I don't care. This is meant to be. So yeah, you drove all the way from
I
Barcelona to
drove all the
Lisbon.
way, man.
Yeah.
I drove all the way. Yeah, yeah, 1,400 kilometers. For me, there's no limits when something like that happened. And actually, I'm glad you just mentioned this little detail of the room that a couple could sleep together or something, because in the dream that I had, I didn't know about that. I just realize that right now, because in the dream that I had of Baba, there was something going on with the bedroom that had to be found. So it was exactly what was happening. I mean, and to me, I mean, this is a beautiful anecdote, but also it is so full of message because again, it's this message that the inner guru is actually the one leading you. And for me, it's so clear that this principle can take absolutely any form. In this case, it took the form of Baba Muktananda in my dream. But some other times it's taken the form of Amma or something, all of a sudden finding a book somewhere, opening it at some page where you get an answer to a question
Yeah.
that you have. That is this principle, the guru, and which is something that I think is so ununderstood here in the West, and it's so mistakenly associated always with a person, which of course a guru can be the form of a person, but it's this principle that is within us. And for now I can say, after 52 years of meditation, this is real, man. I mean, this is the inner guru is actually the one leading us. And whenever we find ourselves in some kind of confusion or something, it takes just absolutely any form. And in the dream,
Yeah.
it was Baba, and then in Portugal, it worked through you and through the work. Because I mean, I hadn't gotten Shaktipat for decades, and that Shaktipat intensive with you, Gareth, that was incredible. There's one last thing I want to say. I know I talked too much, but this last thing I want to say. I didn't know how you worked, you know, and I was only used to Baba giving Shaktipat, and it was all very, ceremonial. And Baba would get ready, and people would chant the mantra and everything. So when you said we were sitting in the circle, right, and I was sitting to your right,
Yeah, right
and you
next to me.
said
Yeah.
right next to you, and you said, "Yeah, we'll start with Alex." I said, "Oh, okay." So then I sat in the half lotus position because that's what I'm used to do for meditation. So mentally, I thought, okay, I guess Gareth needs a few minutes or something to get ready. So I was just totally that millisecond where I was not thinking or not expecting anything. The next thing I know, boom, I feel your thumb here on my third eye, and that went bang. I mean, I it was like it just totally. It was so incredible because it was so so familiar and yet so new and so powerful and so dear and so magnificent and so rejuvenating, and so I can't even find words. It was so powerful. And then I was thinking, wow, I mean, this guy is real. I mean, I only felt something like this when I was with Baba, and here's this Irish guy, just making jokes because I love your sense of humor. And then the next thing I know,
I'm glad you do.
yeah, and then you just become this channel. And now that 2024 is coming to an end, this has been a totally magical year for me, starting in February this year, meeting you. So thank you very much, Gareth. Really,
Yeah. And can I just say that Alex turned up I think we all arrived the day before the retreat actually started. And Alex
yes,
pulled in his say Leon, is it Leon? The
yeah,
white Leon?
right,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So Alex pulls in and he's got these big boxes of spiritual books. Like, I mean, he must have 100 books in them in there. And he's like giving books to everybody. Yeah. So I mean, and we had such a great time because Alex has just got these beautiful, beautiful stories about, Muktananda and Amma, and we all just sat listening. I mean, for me, it was supposed to be. You were supposed to be there on that retreat, and you brought so much joy. And I mean, like after the retreat every evening, we'd all sit around the fire and we'd all sit in a circle. And Alex, you could be sure Alex was sat in the middle on the floor, and everybody sat around listening to his amazing stories. So yeah, Alex, it's
Yeah,
been, yeah,
it,
yeah,
it was wonderful. It's been wonderful, and it's been really wonderful meeting you this year. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I'm
Alex.
very,
And
very grateful.
yeah, thank you so much. And really didn't expect you to talk about me in this. I was just thought we were going to talk about Muktananda and Amma. Um, yeah, so thank you
Well, I
so
guess
much. And maybe
well, some other time we could talk about Alma because it would take another couple
maybe
hours.
we'll do yeah, maybe we'll do a part two about Amma, your relationship with Amma, and I would love that. I would absolutely, and I guarantee you that the viewers and the listeners would love to hear them stories as well. Yeah, Alex, it's been amazing. Thank you so much. You've been an incredible guest. Thank you for being so generous with your
Thank you,
time and
Gareth.
sharing your story. Beautiful story. Like I said to you, normally I get involved. Normally I'm asking questions. It was just let you go, and let just whatever needed to come out came out, and it was really beautiful.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you. This was my first podcast, and I didn't
Oh,
really
you
quite know what to expect or anything.
You did great, Alex. Honestly, such an incredible. Your energy and your storytelling is just incredible. So, Alex, we'll definitely get you back when I get back from San Francisco. We'll do a part two, and
Okay.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gareth, and have a great time in San
Th-
Francisco.
Thank you. Thank you to the viewers and listeners. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
This has been the Endless Possibilities Podcast, where the journey of spiritual awakening and energy healing unfolds. Gareth is a lifelong seeker of truth, a spiritual teacher, and author, and it's his passion to delve into the profound world of consciousness. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and we hope you've gotten something from it. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, the podcast is available on YouTube and all the major podcasting platforms. Find us on Instagram at _mother_force. Take care, and we'll see you soon on the Endless Possibilities Podcast.